I'm very organized. And the one thing that I really do is I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to lean on my family. I'm not afraid to lean on my friends. I'm not afraid to hire a babysitter.
I love bookkeeping.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the I Love Bookkeeping Show. I'm your host, Ben Robinson, and I'm very excited about today. We've got a great guest with us. She is a proud mother of 4. She's 29 years old. She has her own business. She services more than 10 clients. I think that she has a big W on her chest standing for Superwoman. So welcome to the I Love Bookkeeping Show, Ashley Schmitz.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we were talking before the show, and we were talking about you being from California, I'm in California.
You're in
Yes.
California.
I don't know where we are today. I'm in California, sitting here looking at the Pacific Ocean, but you're in Chicago, and maybe it doesn't have the same weather right now as we're recording this. But just thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to talk and get to inspire other people.
Absolutely. Let's start with that. How in the world do you do it? How do you have your own business and 4 children? Like, what's going on here?
I'm very organized. And the one thing that I really do is I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to lean on my family. I'm not afraid to lean on my friends. I'm not afraid to hire a babysitter, because the only way that I can do what I do is by really asking for help.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another fun fact about Ashley, just so everybody knows, she's an Army veteran, correct?
I sure am.
Wow. Thank you for your service. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you also.
Well, yes, that mine was many moons ago when we had, airplane wheels that were square and stuff like that. So
Mine wasn't that long ago, but
okay.
I'm out for Lord almost 9 years now. So
Yeah.
it's been a while.
I gotcha. Well, okay, so let's talk about this. So you have 4 children at home. You have your own business. You're very organized. Let me ask you this: like, why did you start a business? Why didn't you just go out there and get a job?
I wanted to be very intentional with still being able to be a mother. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for a while because my husband, the great man that he is, was able to provide for our family and give me the lifestyle to be able to be a mom and stay home with my kids. But it just wasn't hitting that itch that I had of still being able to contribute to my family. And I mean, I know that being a mom and being stay at home with your kids is such a great thing that people do, but I just felt like there was more that I needed to give to the world. I have big aspirations for my life, and I felt like starting a business was the first step in being able to just contribute to my general surroundings. I needed to be able to show my kids, and especially I have a daughter, that I just wanted her to know that, you can do anything you want to do. And just because you have kids does not mean you don't get to do it.
That's awesome. Now, you use the word you wanted to contribute. So I assume that is in a couple of ways. Financially, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Financially. And then I heard something in there about something to the effect of using your brain, right? Being able to contribute, being able to have something that's intellectually stimulating.
Right. And I was always very interested in numbers, and I'm all about helping other people. I have a huge heart that I just want to give to everybody that I can. And so I thought at first I wanted to go into healthcare, and that was just not for me. I am not a blood and guts and snot kind of person. Even though I deal with it with my kids, I can't deal with it with other people.
Right.
And so I was looking around, and, I got my degree in accounting, and my husband is actually the one that came across your email because we were talking about, starting businesses and where we saw our life going. And he actually came across you and sent your email to me. And I watched those 3 videos for, Bookkeeper Business Launch. And I probably watched them for a good 6 months before I actually started the program, because when I actually then got to doing the program, I was 5 months pregnant with my 4th child. And I just knew I had to do something more than just be a mom.
Sure. Okay. All right. So when was that? When did you actually enroll in Bookkeeper Business Launch and get this started?
I enrolled in October of 2017.
Okay. So about a year and a half ago.
Right.
Okay. And you were 5 months pregnant. So right now you've got about a 1-year-old at the
He will
house.
be one actually on Saturday. So it's
Oh,
April right now. He'll be one on Saturday.
that's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thanks. We're super
So
excited.
is he walking around yet?
Walking around, hitting everything,
Hmm.
falling over everything. He's a bunch
They're,
of fun.
they're like weeble wobbles at that age, they
They
just go
are.
side to side and you're just like, ah, but then you figure out by the fourth one, I've got three, but by the third one, you're just like, whatever.
They're going to fall. They get
Yes,
back up. That's what you have to be there for, is the getting up.
that's right. Exactly. Okay. And so how many clients do you serve now?
Right now, I serve 11 clients. I
Okay.
serve them in a different array of multiple businesses.
Okay. And where do you want to take your business? What's your kind of like if you were to look out 3 years from now, where are you looking to take this?
I'm actually in the process right now of scaling my business as largely as I can go. But on my goal sheet, I have a goal sheet that I write down every day. And my first goal is to hit six figures this year, grow six figures. And then my goal in the next 2 years is actually to be the boss of $1 million company. So I plan on scaling it. I plan on niching down. I've been more intentional to make sure that I'm putting myself in front of the right people to be able to scale my business to the size that I want it.
Okay. So is that driven by monetary reasons? Is it driven by what's your kind of motivation behind that? Because that's pretty tall order, right? It's something that is totally doable. But I think that there's more behind this than just like, hey, money. So what's driving this? What's fueling it?
Um, Another thing that I also write down on my goal sheet is that I want to be an exceptional wife, mother, and I want to inspire young women. I didn't come from the easiest background. And so I want to not only grow this business to show that, you can come from diversity and you can really grow yourself to be something larger than just mediocre. And then I just want to be able to provide for my family the life that I wanted growing up. So I'm working, and it's not a monetary thing. Like my husband and I just have these huge aspirations for multiple different businesses and different places that we want to put our time and our effort. And so I know that this is my first step to almost make this into a passive income, to be able to grow this and give jobs to other people and do that, but then to kind of take a step back into more of the boss role of it, not the day-to-day worker in it.
I got you. Well, I commend you for that because those are big goals, big dreams, and it takes a lot of hushba or whatever that you want to call it to put that out there. So good for you. I
We
love
have
that.
go big or go home is our saying for me and my husband. So we are just a go big or go home kind of people. And that's my go big, and I don't go home. So
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you, it's probably more difficult to build the $100,000 business than it is the $1 million business because once you get to that point, you understand and you've had a taste, and it's like a big flywheel, which is what Jim Collins uses in the book Good to Great. That just keeps to move. It becomes a machine. So that means you've got some great days ahead of you, right?
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So one thing that is missing from this conversation is where are these four kids? Because I hear none of them in the background. So that's amazing.
Well, my three oldest are at school right now, and one of my very best friends, Wendy, is taking care of my littlest Theo. So I thank her so much for
Oh,
being able
yes.
to and that goes back to ask for help. I didn't need a baby in the background right now.
No, no,
Although my
no.
dogs are here and they're being perfect, which is knock on wood crazy.
Absolutely. So you obviously work from your house, right? How's that been? Has that been a good experience for you?
Oh, it's been wonderful. It is so easy to be able to switch a load of laundry and still be that mom that I knew I wanted to be, but to have the fulfillment of also having my business and serving my clients and being able to be there for essentially everybody because I work from home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that too. Like literally I'm in pajama pants right now and you can't see me. I'm on vacation, right? But still being able to put that work in there
Yeah.
while the kids are still asleep. So good for you. Um, okay. So looking back over this journey over the last 18 months, let's call it, are there things that you wish that you would have known before that you would have done different, or just I'm kind of looking for things that others kind of look for in considering starting their business or growing their business. Like looking back over the 18 months, what would you write to yourself?
I think I would definitely tell myself not to undervalue myself. I was so desperate to have my first client and to get that ball rolling that I was willing to go against my gut in signing that first client, even though I knew in my heart they would be a clown eventually, and is exactly what it was. And I think that if I could go back, I learned a great deal from them, so I wouldn't not have gone down the path that I did. But I think that if I had the ability, I would have waited for the right person and trusted my gut, because I never go against it. And I did in that one instance, and I just proved myself right that I should have listened.
Absolutely. And, hindsight's 2020, right? But
Right.
dealing with that difficult client or the maybe not so perfect client for you was a springboard, for putting you where you are now. Now we're all the wiser, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, congratulations. You've done some awesome stuff here. And I know that you will continue to do that. And that's what we're going to talk about here today is the challenge or opportunity that is in front of you. So Ashley, why don't you tee that up for us and kind of let us know what we can help you with today?
All right. So I am a mother of four, and I obviously work from home. So my biggest issue is being able to have the time to go out to those meetings, to do the marketing with other business professionals, and really getting myself out there. So I've really relied a lot more on the grinding of doing direct mail marketing over LinkedIn marketing, and not really having that face-to-face connection of building my referral network. So that's my biggest problem right now.
Okay. All right. And I'll start off by saying that it's okay, right? You can grow this business with never having to do face-to-face network, going out and being present. And it is a great way in which to get business, but the season of life that you're in doesn't allow you to do that.
Right.
So I'm thinking about one of our students, and you know him, Daniel Honan, and most of our students have never, like Daniel, I don't believe has ever attended a networking event. He has almost 50 clients.
Yeah.
And he's done it pretty much through a couple of mechanisms, right? Through what you said, kind of the direct mail to live training or webinar, whatever you want to call it, into a sales funnel. So it can be done, right? But we do have to be very intentional about that. So that's kind of the reason that I ask about what was your goal and your vision for it, right? Because we want to get a handful of more clients. That's a different approach than if we want to get this empire, this mini empire that you're talking about building.
Right.
Okay. So how many hours a week do you think that you can dedicate to marketing right now?
I mean, at least 10. I could at least do 10.
Okay. All right. Well, that's amazing because most people
don't need sleep, so I can continue to go as much as I need to.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to look back on this season of life in a year or 10 years or something. Go, how did I do that? What was?
They say that you're supposed to grind in your 20s, grow in your 30s, and relax in your 40s. So that's my goal right now.
Well, I'm in my 40s, and I'd like, yeah, I just don't think that that's in my DNA, relaxing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that you'll find too as you're starting to build this business. It's probably not in your DNA either.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So what has been the way in which you got these 11 clients that you serve now? What's been most effective for you?
So I've been big on posting in local Facebook groups, developing my connections on LinkedIn. And then a lot of people have actually come from referrals from current clients.
Okay. Well, that's a testament to the great job that you're doing. So one of the things in marketing that we want to consider is that we want 20 ways in which to get one client and not one way in which to get 20 clients. And what I mean by that is that we never want to be reliant upon one source. Like being Facebook leads or being a referral partner that gives us all of our leads, or BNI group, which is a physical networking. We don't want to have to rely upon one mechanism, because if that goes away, our supply line of new clients goes away. So
right.
It's good that you have this diversity right now. I think what we want to do is just amplitude what's already working.
Right.
And so, okay, so do you have a niche?
I'm starting to niche down into law firms and real estate. I kind of like both of those areas. My husband wants to get into real estate, so I figured I should know that. But I was really drawn to law firms because honestly, they're not scared of my bill rate. So sure. I really liked it.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that that's a great niche, or kind of two niches there to go into. And for you and for everybody else who's listening in marketing, it's made up of three elements: the market, the message, and then the media. And so what we're talking about here is the media, right? Because your market, we can clearly define as attorneys, and then another market that you have, totally different, is real estate investors and people that are in that. So what I would tell you first and foremost to do is to pick one of those, because it's hard to have two niches and to do it really right.
Right.
So there is a little bit of overlap. Like if you have an attorney who's a title company too, I mean, there's some similarities, but
I was really thinking like real estate lawyers, just because then I can know both fields. But the base of my clients right now are law firms and real estate investors.
Okay. All right. So what I would do first and foremost is to get very clear about who your market is.
Right.
That's the most important thing that we can ever do in our marketing. And the reason is because it dictates everything. It dictates what are we going to say to them, which is our message. And then the least important of all is the media. Now, it doesn't mean it's not important. It's just the least important. But that's where people, and that's where I see so many marketing mistakes these days, are like, I need more clients, I'm going to go to Facebook. We're starting it backward, right? If you think of it like a upside down pyramid or hierarchy, you would have market as being the most important. Probably 90% of the success or failure in marketing is clearly defining our market, and not just defining them, but knowing them backward and forward.
Right.
Okay. Because this dictates everything out. And when you know your clients, you know their struggles, you know the things that they want, you know the things that they don't want, you know the roles that they don't want to have to pursue and do in their business, this makes it so much easier. So before we actually talk about, how do I go out there and do that when I have 10 hours a week, which is great, but how do I do that and be effective with it? We got to get crystal clear on your market.
Right.
So let's assume that you've done that or are doing that, right? It's never a done thing. We're always learning about people.
Right.
So that's first thing, right? And then we want to take and couple that market with the message. So if they're telling us, hey, I want to be able to do this without having to do that, then that's something you want to build your business around. And it needs to be in the message of all your marketing.
Right.
I know, you're an attorney and you want this, but you don't want that. Let me help. Now, obviously that's a very simplified version of that, but those are the two most important things.
Right.
Okay. So I think that you are doing a good job of that. So now it's all about the media, right? How do I do that? You mentioned you've mined Facebook groups, which I think are great. You've done LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you've exhausted those means, or do you feel like you've just kind of scratched the surface?
Honestly, probably just scratched the surface. I know that it's such a wide area that I could keep grinding down in. So I'm not too worried about there not being enough.
Okay. So I don't know about you, but I have bright, shiny object syndrome. I have, hey, there's this new thing over here, rather than saying, why don't I double or triple down on things that are already working?
Right.
And that's, I always say that was such a great offer. We did so great on that I've never done it again. And then you go, why not? Why didn't you do that? But I got excited about something over here that panned out to be nothing. So first thing we want to do is to figure out what's working and reverse engineer it. So if you're getting success from Facebook groups, let's amplify that. And again, it starts with the market, right? So you want to be in a target-rich environment, as I said in Top Gun. You want to be in a place in which your market hangs out.
Right.
And if that's Facebook groups, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands of them where you could go into those and contribute, where you can become a thought leader. Now, these are not quick, like, hey, you're going to get a client tomorrow from it by being in there. These are nurturing type of things that you're going to do.
Right.
But getting in every group that has to do with your market. Now, probably only a handful of them will ever pan out, but you don't know. It's kind of like fishing. You got to throw a lot of hooks in the water for, the fish to bite, or try a lot of bait, or some other goofy analogy that I'm trying to do at 7 a.m. in the morning here. But, let's go ahead and double down on those things that are working in the Facebook groups.
Right.
So that's the first thing. Now, how do we approach those Facebook groups? It's all about give to get. Go in there, begin with, learn that audience. I kind of lurk in the background. Like, go in these groups. What are the questions that they're asking? What's the personality of the group? Is this more of a serious business? Is this more of a coffee shop approach? We want to learn not just who's the market, but what's the tonality? What's the setting here?
Right.
Because you may find one group to be very formal and oriented on answering technical questions, and the other one is more of a, gripe session or water cooler type of talk. And that matters.
Right.
Because if we try to go in the coffee shop and talk to people about splitting atoms and very technical things, they're going to laugh us out of there. So we have to think about that. So that's the first thing that I would do. And I know that there's tons of groups out there, tons of Facebook groups or otherwise that have those attorneys in there or have your demographic in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that's one thing. And again, somebody may be listening to this podcast 3 years from now and go, well, what was Facebook? Obviously that's probably not going to happen, but it could. So media come and go, right? It's Facebook, it's LinkedIn. But I'll tell you, one of the best things that you can do is email outreach. And this, we actually have a whole mini program on that inside of Bookkeeper Business Launch, of which you're a member. So I want to kind of dive into that just a little bit here and give you some recommendations, but I also want to encourage you to go in there and consume that.
Okay.
Because it's really good. It was taught by our marketing guy, Ross O'Loughlin. But it's basically, how do I cold email, right? It's kind of like the current version or the old time version of the cold call. Now it does involve LinkedIn and going out there and doing a lot of research.
Right.
And it's not about mass, sending out 1,000 emails like a broadcast. It's a very targeted, it's a laser approach. So you may work your butt off all day long and send out 10 emails if you're lucky. But if you do it the right way and approach them the right way, then you are going to get success. And that's why I was asking again about the market, right? Because we got to go out there and we got to do research on them. If we say, hey, I'm just serving business owners in the US, my gosh, there's millions of them on LinkedIn. But now you say, no, I'm serving attorneys and maybe even real estate attorneys. Well, maybe there's 50,000 of them on there.
Right.
So now you can say, well, where would I start? Well, I'd start closest to home, because now I can say, hey, I'm just down the street from you.
Right.
That familiarity, if it's a hard word to say, is it goes a long way with this. But it's a lot of myths, and there's a few hits that you have in there, but it's going to pan out for you.
Right.
So what has been your strategy on LinkedIn so far? What have you been doing?
I have a generalized message that I've been sending to either people that I'm connected with or not connected with. And I kind of just gear it as, I'd like to get to know you. I'd like to know more about your business and your pain points. I'd love to chat with you. Kind of deal is what it is right now. And I've just been searching, like you said, in this general area of the Chicagoland area, because it's so broad, is where I've been at this particular moment in it.
Okay. All right. So go into that because there's some messaging. I don't want to call them hacks, but it's just general communication and things like that you can use. So go into that course and be sure and consume that along with the LinkedIn course. I'm sure you've gone through that
Right.
Melanie. Yeah. Those two things together are very, very powerful.
Okay.
All right. So those are things that are working right now. Now, backing up for just a second, rather than we start talking about different media, one thing that we have to have is a very solid strategy and follow up.
Right.
The money is in the follow up. It's not so much in the initial contact, although that's a very important thing, but it's in following up and being consistent and knowing that you told somebody that you were going to reach out to them on April the 5th or 4th, and you're doing that, right?
Right.
And so being organized, which you are, is a huge advantage to you there. But it doesn't take you don't have to get a fancy CRM, customer relationship management system. I mean, you could do this in a Google spreadsheet.
That is exactly what I use actually, is a Google spreadsheet. And I have it differentiated between CPAs, lawyers, and real estate investors, because I also do reach out to CPAs just to, have my name in their mouth. I can't figure that it's a bad thing.
No.
And then I have it organized by their name, their email, where they work, when I last reach out to them, and on what platform.
There you go. Yeah. So, I mean, everybody thinks, hey, the app is the solution, right? My marketing woes are all in this app right here. No, a spreadsheet or heck, even a notebook paper is fine. Obviously the spreadsheet's just a fancier version of that. But at some point, it might warrant that you get something like that to help you. But right now, you don't need it.
Right.
It actually would probably get in your way rather than help you.
Right.
Okay. So reaching out those ways. Another way in which to do that is to figure out who are the online versions of these. So they used to be called chat rooms and things like that, but that's so like 2000, right? So, but there are probably niche like groups, like panels, like discussion groups. They're probably more in Facebook,
right?
Not so much in LinkedIn, because LinkedIn groups aren't that great, or aren't that populated. Facebook more so, but there's probably a lot of forums, private forums that they have that I would want to be a part of. I would want to figure out how to get myself into. That would be great. I love direct mail.
Okay.
So kind of switching over here, I love it from the standpoint of we have to be intentional. It's not like, hey, let me do your bookkeeping. It's a postcard that drives them, the attorney, it drives them to a training, a webinar. Not a sales pitch. There is a sales pitch involved, but you want to drive them. You want to take a postcard with a strong call to action, a compelling reason to attend your training. And by the way, send this to their home. Don't send it to their office. So
that's a good idea.
Because what you're going to have at the office is a gatekeeper.
Oh,
so if you're buying lists, you can buy, the ABA list, and you can get their home addresses.
Okay.
So do not send it to their office, because I guarantee you their paralegal, if not somebody before the paralegal, is going to put that in the trash. So
my always worry about buying lists is that they're not updated. Is that something that I should be worried about?
So most list brokers, like if you use an Info USA or something like that, these are compiled lists. So they just take it from public records. There's no fancy things to it. So yeah, there is an element. They usually give you a tolerance in there of 7 to 10%. And if it's beyond that, then they'll refund you for the portion that wasn't. So yeah, that's just an inherent risk of doing this type of thing.
Okay.
Obviously compiled lists are not near as good as lists that you already have.
Right.
So you probably already have a list. It may only be 10 people, right? But send them a thing and invite them to an online training that you're going to do, or you can do a free consultation. I don't like that model because people don't value that anymore. It used to be that, oh my gosh, she's going to give me a free consultation. Well, now it's like everybody does that.
Right.
So I typically don't like to do that, but I like to drive them from that postcard to a online training. Now, I'll tell you with this, Ashley, one thing is that people do this 2 or 3 times and they go, well, that doesn't work. It doesn't at first, and it appears that it doesn't. Consistency is the name of the game here.
Okay.
So if you're going to do that, and this doesn't mean you have to send out thousands of these postcards, right? It's not about that. It's just sending a few. You can do this on pennies, or maybe dollars. Let's put it that way. You can do this on dollars. You don't have to send out thousands of them or even hundreds of them. Matter of fact, I would encourage you to do it more by hand and learning. And when you get people on the hook that have responded to that, to really reverse engineering, why were they interested? Did you just hit them at the right time? Was it your message? How can you learn from them, right? You're continuing to hone that message so you'll get better at it. But if you kind of reverse engineer what Daniel Honan did with painters, that's pretty much that's the way he did it. Now, this is again going back to the fact this may not work for your audience. It may work like gangbusters, but how do we know? We
Right.
There and we test it, right? Have you done anything like that in the past?
I've sent out direct mail to businesses. There's a website for Illinois where you can see if they've filed their annual taxes through them. And so I actually sent out a direct mailer I looked up 50 businesses in this area that hadn't filed their taxes. And that's actually how I got a handload of tax clients, because they hadn't gotten their taxes done in a while.
Okay. Well,
so I've done it, yes.
Okay. So that works if you're looking for those tax clients, right? But is that going to be a part of your business where you're wanting to grow the tax side, or are you more focused on the bookkeeping?
Eventually, I would like it to be a part of the business. I'm not super focused on it right now because it's just another thing that I would have to throw on my plate, and I feel like I need to hone in on growing this part of my business before I can add something else to it.
Smart woman, being focused on that niche, being focused on that service that you're offering. Right. So that's very wise. So doing that. So it's really kind of, I wish that I had these groundbreaking things to do and to tell you to do, but it's kind of doing more of the same, being very intentional about it. And then, really starting with that niche, right? Really figuring it out, because we can go out there. I mean, I'm sitting here online. We could go out there right now, and in the next 30 minutes, we could probably compile a list of at least 30 different Facebook groups, websites, periodicals, all these different things that you can get in front of. I would go also to my clients that are in your market, that are your niche, and start asking them, where do you hang out? Like online, where do you hang out? I would want to always, like, if there is a group, a Facebook group or otherwise, there's a couple administrators in there. There's a couple people who started it or who are in charge of it. I want to meet those people. I want to start at the top, and I want to just at first lurk. I want to learn the questions. I want to start, learning the tone that they're using. I want to start offering value, knowing that 99.9% of the time that you answer a question, that's not going to lead to a client.
Right.
But if you answer 1,000 questions and you get one client and you're charging them $1,000 a month, it doesn't really, it pays off in spades.
Right.
And then what you can also do from these is you start to kind of compile, hey, I keep hearing this question, or I keep hearing this struggle. Now I can create a training on that and lead them to it, right? And help them. So they're basically telling you what they want. And that's what we want. There's an old saying in marketing, you give people what they want in order to deliver what they need.
Right.
They think that they want, let's say reconciliations, and they do. They do want that, but that they really need is, somebody to make sure that their trust account doesn't get violated, because if they do that, they're out of a job.
Right.
So just looking for those things in there. But that's a great way in which to create this message machine for you and to create the training.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It does make full sense.
Okay. I would want to figure out who because we think that referral networking is something that has to be done physically, and it is much more effective that way in my experience. But there is online versions of that as well, which is kind of what I mentioned earlier, figuring out who the players are in this area. So another thing I would want to do is look for shoulder groups. Maybe it's part attorneys, part title offices. Maybe it's part attorneys, part, maybe it's paralegals, right? Maybe it's that maybe the paralegal's the one that really struggles with it, and the attorney's like, hey, get this done. And the paralegal, so I don't know that industry, One thing I do like to do, though, is I like to figure out who's already doing this and reverse engineer what they're doing and how can I make it better?
Right.
How can I put my spin on it there? But really start to think outside the box of who else already has these people in front of them, who already has the clients that I want.
Okay.
Another thing, what we're doing right here, I'm doing a podcast, right? A podcast, think bookkeeping for attorneys. Would that be a top, podcast? No, probably not. But you're not looking for thousands of downloads and subscribers. You're just looking for a few.
Right.
That's kind of like what we do here. It's a good podcast. It's very relevant to bookkeeping professionals and aspiring bookkeeping professionals, but it gets our name out there. But becoming known, becoming an authority, that would be one thing as a long-term play that I would want. I would want Ashley Schmitz' name to be synonymous with serving attorneys in this sector.
Right.
So that's more of a longer term play because it's not hard to do a podcast at all. I mean, you just need a couple pieces of equipment, as you can see right here, and a little bit of time and just a tiny bit of technical abilities, and you can have a podcast.
Right.
But all these things, I just want to be in front of them, and I want them to go, "Oh my gosh, Ashley, get out of my way! I see you all the time." You want to be facing them from all fronts.
Right.
So that is that's how I would do it.
Okay.
And I would also have a lot of caffeine,
which I do.
Yes, which you do. And, doing those things, the email outreach is very powerful. LinkedIn is very powerful. Facebook is very powerful. All the groups that are there, but start with what's already working.
Right.
And amplify it.
That's my hope.
There you go. Well, good. Well, anything else that I can help you with here today, Ashley?
No, I think you did a great job of explaining my needs and helping me to be able to take a lot of notes right now and to set the tone for my day on how I'm going to be hustling. So
awesome. Well, so tell me, what's your number one action item as a result of what we talked about here today? What's your action item? My
action item is to be able to clarify who my group is. I really want to focus on LinkedIn, and I'm really going to go through that email training, because I don't know if I've done that yet. And just really hone down on what my message is to my specific market. So,
okay. And by when will you do this?
Oh, I'll have this done by this week.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what we like to do. I like to always say, hey, what's my one action and when am I going to have it done?
I'll have it done by Friday.
There you go. I'm going to follow up with, no, I'm just playing with you. We're all big people here.
You can give me a call. I'll have it done.
Well, congratulations, Ashley. You're doing great things, and I'm just very proud of you for how you juggle it all.
Well, thank you. It's not easy, but it's a lot of fun, so I really enjoy it.
Well, thanks for joining us here today, Ashley.
Well, thanks for having me.
Listen, if you would like to hear more great conversations just like today's, then I want you to head on over to ilovebookkeeping.com. There, you're going to find all of the shows, the notes, and some other great goodies that we have for you there. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on the I Love Bookkeeping show, there is a link that says Be a Guest. Go in there, and we'll walk you through the process of getting on the show. And finally, to discover more about our programs, go to the courses page on the ilovebookkeeping.com site. There you have it, another great episode of I Love Bookkeeping. Thank you for being a proud listener, and thank you for being a bookkeeping professional. Enjoy the rest of your week.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my friends working hard at keeping the books. You want to change your life, you want to grow that biz, it's not as hard as it looks. Be a money guide, a profit coach, step up your game